Hello, everyone. Welcome to SparrowCast. And we have Stacy Justino with us today. She's the Director of Customer Happiness at Wistia. Stacy is an experienced operation management professional with a demonstrated history in working in computer games and SaaS industries. And she is here with us today to share her insights on the topic support leaders should not be afraid to do things differently to increase efficiency in customer experience. Welcome to the show, Stacy. We're so happy that you agreed to be a part of this. I'm super excited to host you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Always happy to talk about customer support.
All right. Okay. So without any further ado, let's begin with our session, and it's completely over to you. So the first question which I would like to ask you is, what is that you did something differently to bring or increase efficiency in customer experience?
That's a great question. One thing I did when I was at Big Fish Games, we were looking to use a new customer support platform for one of our upcoming games, a new game. So we wanted a mobile SDK. So we started doing some research and looked at pricing as we would move game by game over it. I did the analysis and I looked at it and it became clear to me that we could save quite a bit of money and simplify things if we moved 100% over to, in this case, it was Zendesk. And we had 6 months to do it, which is kind of a bit of a crunch time to move a very complex setup in one customer support management tool to another. But the upside was so big. And as a company that was releasing new games fairly often, we only had one help center in our old support tool, and we'd make pages for individual games. When we were able to move to Zendesk and we had multiple brands, we could make a help center and a contact form for every single game, which was a better customer experience, but also made it much better on the agent side and the back end and reporting, right? We knew, oh, customer goes to this portal, goes to this form, that is for this game, and we could tailor those forms for that game. So it increased efficiency all around, and we were able to build out much more robust help content for each game. But when I presented it, I was a little bit scared because that's a big undertaking in 6 months. But we did it. It was fairly seamless. We were able to recreate most of the functionality that we needed, adjust where we couldn't, and we really didn't see much of a dip in productivity when we switched, which I think was the most impressive part of all.
All right. Okay. So what according to you are, or what do you actually think are the traits that separate great customer experience leaders from the rest?
I think curiosity. One thing that I always do is I'm always on the lookout for new software or new ways of doing things because most companies, especially like tech companies, are evolving. So your support has to evolve to some extent. Maybe not at the same speed, but definitely can't lag too far behind where your company is going. And so right now there are more and more companies making really great software, so I'm pretty open to like cold emails and cold LinkedIn messages from companies I might not have heard of, because it doesn't take me too long to look at their website, see what they're doing, and even a 30-minute meeting. I've had some of the best relationships I've built um, with other companies we work with through just being open to saying yes to a 30-minute call with someone. So I think being curious and always looking to learn new ways of doing things is super important. I think also being aware of the big picture. A lot of times in support, you can kind of get your blinders on and lose focus of like the big picture or long-term thinking, and it's really easy to make short-term decisions to like get through a backlog or get ready for a product release, but you really need to be thinking long-term for the bigger success and greater success of your team.
All right. Looks like, it's a good news for all those outbound folks over there. So there's someone who's really acceptable to, outbound emails and phone calls. He's really acceptable with reference to that. Great to know about that as well. So I always have this question, and most of those people I speak with have got different perspectives on it. So what is your take on connecting the employees to the customers?
I think there's a couple of ways you can do this. I think one way is for making sure your employees really understand who your customers are. So if as a company, you are able to articulate the customers you're going after, kind of the different types of customers, and you communicate that with your support team, I think they're much better able to support those customers. And I think as agents on the team are some of the people who have the best ideas. So if they really understand the customers, then they can be more informed when they're suggesting ways we can better support them. Some of the best suggestions I've gotten on how we can better support our customers have come from agents. And if they didn't really understand who our customers were, what our customers were looking for, then I don't think they'd be able to come up with those ideas if they didn't have that background.
All right, that's great. So, do you have any tips to drive consistent improvement in this segment, specifically on customer?
Um, yes, I think listening to your customers is really important. What are they saying? Whether that's through customer satisfaction or through like a quality program. So one thing that we have done at Wistia is we have a peer review program. We have a pretty simple rubric, but they're the things that we found are good for creating an efficient, friendly, personable experience, right? So one of our standards is to make sure you ask all the like clarifying questions in one email, right? So you're not going back and forth. So we keep an eye on responses per ticket, and we reinforce that by having that sort of followed up in within our quality standards.
All right, great. So, what according to you, you said, I mean, you bring up with different stuffs and out of the box items to take some decisions with respect to customer experience. So, how can we be innovative in customer experience, and what are the things we should consider?
Great question. I think that one thing to do is look at the problems you're trying to solve, right? What are the problems you're trying to solve today and in the maybe next 6, 12 months? And looking at those in a different light, right? For example, at Wistia, I've been exploring different chat software. And so I was just looking at chat software. But then I realized out there are a few solutions, like truly omni-channel solutions, that would make a much better experience both for customers and employees in the customer support team. And that wasn't my initial scope, but I sort of was open to the idea, and I've been exploring those omni-channel solutions. And while we may not go with that today, I thought that it was worth it to do that research. And if we do move forward and we do move on a different platform, it was because I was willing to explore that option, even if it wasn't within the distinct scope that I had originally started with. And I think that that's kind of how you get to some of that out of the box thinking, is just not thinking just with what's right in front of you, but really thinking long term. Because if we do make this move now, rather than making a move to a live chat software that works with Zendesk to maybe moving to something else completely, the dividends of doing that right now versus going to live chat and then, oh, now that we do live chat, we want to move to a completely other platform for everything. I think that's a lot more work down the line. And so, yeah, right now, maybe it's a little uncomfortable and scary to consider, but I think the payoff is totally worth it.
All right. So, I just, I mean, ended off with one last question. So, what are your tips to adopt a customer-focused change?
My tips for adopting a customer focused change: I think buy-in is really important. Um, the folks who are most impacted are probably your agents when you are making it a customer focused change, because a lot of the times it impacts their workflow, their process. So their buy-in, I think, is very important. Um, I've introduced some changes in the past where I hadn't either brought them along the way so they were up to speed before the release or before the change. And let me tell you, that did not go so well. So I've learned to really bring people along on that journey sooner rather than later. They might have thought of things that you hadn't considered, or they'll bring up concerns that you can address. So maybe they're not deal breakers, but they're things that maybe you wouldn't have spent enough time explaining and could have caused some tension or friction that you could have avoided. So I think really communication is key, right? And even if it makes an agent's life a little less easy, but it's better for the customer, if you can explain that and communicate that, then a lot of people will be on board, even if it is a little more difficult for them, if they could see the big picture and see the reasoning and really understand the why.
All right. Okay. So that was, looks like, I mean, we can sum it up everything. And there was nothing more than I could have just asked for. So it's a truly amazing session, Stacey. And I'm sure that our audience too appreciates the insights and thoughts you just shared with us. So I'd like you to summarize the key takeaways from our session today. The first one would be don't be afraid to take a risk if it offers better productivity. Second one would be being curious and aware of the big picture helps you plan long-term strategies. Third one, the best ideas and solutions always come from the employees who understand their customers. Fourth point, explore and be solution driven. This lets you reach better outcomes. Fifth one, align your teams, address their concerns, and ensure that the agents are on the same page with you. Once again, thanks for your time and for sharing your thoughts, Daisy. And we shall see you again in the next SparrowCast.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.